My customer comes in, my repeat customer comes in with 6 pairs of shears and says, hey, Bonnie, like your sharpening, but can you make them sharper this time? What's your answer? What do you do? So let's chat while I sharpen these shears, because she's coming in this morning, and it's a little bit more fun if I'm sharpening, if I'm talking to you. So let's get into these shears and take a look at them, and I'll tell you what I told her and what she said and what I'm going to do. So what we have here, what she brought me, was purple dragons, and I always like to look them up. I've sharpened these before. I like to look up any of these brand name scissors to see what they are, what she paid for them. And she paid very little for all of these shears. These are Purple Dragon Hashimoto. Isn't that a name of a thyroid condition? Yeah, it is. Hashimoto's disease. Lazar. Or maybe it's supposed to be Lazar. This is Maxman and another Maxman. None of these are very expensive. So in the past, if she had told me that, I would have thought, oh, well, whatever angle I did them at, I need to make them a sharper angle. I would have, you know, if I'd sharpened them at 35, which is probably what I did, I would up it to 40 or 40 up it to 45. That's not what she was talking about. And we're going to talk first of all about the definition of sharp while I get into sharpening these. What does sharp mean? Sharp can have 2 different definitions. I'm going to do a scratch test on this. Sharp can mean a more acute angle, which in my mind, when somebody says sharp, that's what I think they're talking about. I like the angle is 30, 35 would be sharper because it's a thinner angle. Sharp can also mean you're going to take a sharp turn. It's going to be a sharp, right angle. It means that there's no nicks, no bumps. It's just a sharp turn, like right here on my machine, that's definitely not sharp, but it's sharp in that it's here and then it's there. So it's a consistent angle. I don't know, I might have to look this up in the dictionary. But, okay, so I've got this set at 42. And I'm not anywhere near, I probably did this at 35. Let me find my Allen wrench here. So what I asked her, I said, now what do you mean by sharp? And her answer was, well, these seem to dull out quickly, and I wanted something that was sharper so I wouldn't have to come so often to have them sharpened. So really, what she's asking for is a blunter edge, not sharper in my definition of it. I did them at 35 last time. She's wanting an edge that's going to hold longer, and she's a dog groomer. But this same thing would apply to stylists as well. So I'm going to bump this down to 30. And I explained to her, I said, what you really need is a stronger, I don't use the word dull or blunter. I said, what you really need is a stronger angle so that it'll keep its edge longer. And I said, when you have cheap scissors, you just don't have the metal that will hold a sharp, thin edge. And her husband was here with her, and I said, like your husband, if he shaves, and he was bald too, so I guess it shaves his head too. I said, if he's using a thin razor, those razors go dull much quicker and faster than a pair of shears. she understood that. And I said, so that's because those are a thinner angle. I said, you really don't want a thinner, sharper angle. You want a stronger angle. So her husband, who is like a handyman carpenter, he was listening to this conversation, and he was like, if these are such cheap scissors, they won't hold an edge, why are you getting them sharpened? Why don't you buy one good pair of shears instead of getting all this junk sharpened? And so I pulled out some, our good shears, and they're for the quality of them, they're really not expensive at all. And yeah, that's good enough. Let me wipe the Sharpie off of here. And she looked at them and she loved them, and she says, well, I may get these when I come back for the other ones, but I have to talk to my husband first. And I said, well, isn't that him? He just, he's the one that said you need to get some new shears. And and I said, why don't you just not get these purple dragon sharpening? Because I really don't like to do cheap scissors. I mean, they just, people are going to complain. They're not holding their edge when it's not my fault. And she still said, well, let me get them sharpened one more time. But she also teaches people to groom. And so she thinks these are ones she can give away. Let's see how these cut. Yeah, they cut fine. Now, if you notice how I sharpen these, this is a worn 80 micron. This is my second courses. I've got one coarser than this, but one of my courses I've got. I dropped them down to 30 degrees, and nothing done to the rod line. Just because the rod line is all over the place. It's whoever made these, manufactured them. It's not a well done. And those are done. And I just charged her $20 for it, and I tried to explain to her. It's not worth doing, but if you explain to it and they still want them done, then do it. Now these purple ones that are curved. Let's see what we're starting out with here. Not too horribly bad, But let's get them a little bit better. To wrap this up, what I want to say is, if someone says, can you make them sharper? Find out what they mean and what they want them to do. If they want them to go longer between sharpening, they're not doing any kind of slide cutting or slithering, or in her case as a dog groomer, any championship grooming things and contests, that sort of thing. They're just wanting some good basic cutting. I usually will drop it down. Also, you notice I went to the coarser grit. If you drop the angle down, especially if you're getting 35 degrees or lower, you're going to need to leave them a little bit rough, a little bit of bite. If you polish them or make them too smooth, they're going to push hair. They're designed to kind of grab the hair a little bit and cut. It's a chop more than a slice. So I'm going to finish these rest of her shears because she's coming in today, and I hope that answers your question about what is sharp. When the customer asks you, can you make them sharper? More sharper, please. I've had that said to me. Find out exactly what their definition of sharp is. Put in the comments below what your perception and what your definition is of sharp when someone says, I want some sharp shears. It's kind of interesting. We had a Sharpeners Jam one time, and I remember it was Casper Kaiser and Hap Stanley, who's on the YouTube a lot, and they both had a different definition of sharp, and they were both right. So make sure that when we're talking whether amongst our sharpeners or stylists or groomers with sharpeners, that we're using not just the same words, but the same definition. And that applies to a lot of other things, like the word love, faith, believe. There's a lot of words that you need to know the definition to make sure we're talking the same language.